Baby Keem has just dropped his debut album, The Melodic Blue, and this is going to be our review on it as we just got a few listens in. And guys, let us know in the comments your favorite song so far from The Melodic Blue and how you feel overall about the album. So the way that we actually review albums on this channel is a bit different. We actually have different categories that we grade. So we start off with artist performance, then we go into content, then we move on to features, then we have production, instant replay value, and then an overall rating. And instead of using a numerical system, we actually have words that attributes our feelings towards the album. So we have bad, then we have mid, then we have good, and now we've actually added at your request a new category for great, and then we move on to amazing and perfect. And it's pretty interesting to see Baby Keem come out with his debut album because he's been having a lot of, things to say in the industry, and he's been having, features on albums like Kanye West Donda, and his last project was actually a mixtape in 2019 called Die For My Bitch, and since then he's been building up a lot of steam. So going into The Melodic Blue, what were your expectations?
I was super hyped because it's been 2 years that he's been teasing this project, all the way since 2019, and Baby Keem is such an interesting, I would say, artist in the industry because you can't really force him into any sort of genre in hip-hop. I feel as if, he has some elements of trap based on his production and maybe some flows and cadences that he uses. Not only that, but I feel as if sometimes, I'm getting super hyped and it feels like I'm listening to, someone that's doing punk. It feels like you could go anywhere and everywhere with, Baby Keem's, I would say production. And it's also like it has great implements of psychedelic in it as well. We heard soul samples on this project. Like there's so much to take out of Baby Keem's music. And the first thing that I wanted to hear when going into this project was diversity. And that's exactly what I got, and I found it in a lot of different areas. So guys, let's kickstart this review. So Lou, starting with the artist performance, from start to finish, what was the first thing you have to say that you have to maybe congratulate him on? Because I feel as if, from start to finish, Baby Keem kept me entertained, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think the major takeaway for me is the unpredictability of Baby Keem on every single song, because with every track on this album, he manages to manipulate his vocal delivery, his vocal inflections, his flows, and he always keeps you entertained, just like you said, because you don't know where he's going to go next. You don't know how long a certain tempo is going to last, because before you know it, you have a beat switch or you have a different cadence on the song. And that's what I love, is that he's willing to take risks. And I feel like a lot of artists that are up and coming aren't willing to take the same risks and push the envelope the way that Baby Keem is.
Well, let's go to the intro track, Trademark USA, and this was a great track to start off this, whole album with. And I was talking to you earlier about, the way that he's able to ride, beats, and the way that he's able to, sort of adapt his flow and cadence to the different beat switches within a song. And on something like Trademark in USA, well, Trademark USA, it's fucking incredible the way that he's able to ride, like, I think 3+ flow switches, and the way that he's able to even, let's say, extend some of his syllables at the end of like lines. And it's just crazy the way that he's actually able to even keep up with the tempo of the song, because there's times where you feel as if it's speeding up, it's slowing down, and he's kind of using his breath control in order to keep you engaged with it. So talking about his flow on the album, do you enjoy the quirky flows? Because you seem to get a lot of them within the track list as well.
I do love them. I feel like there's certain times where maybe on a song like Pink Panties, which is probably the only miss on the album for me, whatever, the flow is kind of quirky and a bit too out there and kind of doesn't really fit the vibe. But for the most part, I do enjoy them. They're super unique. And not only that, but I do appreciate that Keem shut up a lot of haters, because he showed that his lyrical prowess is really up there on songs like Trademark USA, on songs like Family Ties, on Scapegoat. He showed that when he wants to do it, he can be lyrically mature, and I really, saw that and really appreciated it. And not only that, but I also think that if you look at a song like Scapegoat, he actually, utilizes this internal rhyme scheme structure that goes like this: cheap shots, let it rock, eye open, Fetty Wap, rain like confetti drop, I bet he drops. So when you're using these types of rapping techniques, you're showing me that you're not only there to make trap music, you're not only there to chase a certain vibe. And yes, he does describe his music as 99% feeling, but there's way more implemented into this, and we'll talk more about that once we get into the content matter of the album. But overall with the artist performance, I was amazed.
Yeah,
it was really good.
It was really fucking good, and even taking it to something like, you know, South Africa, like that had to be one of the best hooks on the whole album for me, because it was super catchy, and I feel as if like when Baby Keem is on beat, it's some of his best fucking material. And like it's kind of crazy because, you know, you're so used to hearing Baby Keem like maybe rap off beat, then use some quirky flows, that when he does do it, I feel as if, you know, they're gems within the album. So I have to shout out South Africa, but overall the artist performance was great. You know, Baby Keem showed up here. You know, he literally didn't leave, you know, any room for him to maybe get criticized on certain things, because yes, maybe, you know, on something like Pink Panties, there was room for an improvement. I found it pretty cheesy, but overall,
is that a miss for you?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a miss for me.
I think you have to say it. But what I think we have to say too is that, like, what's interesting about Baby Keem is that apart from the final track 16, every other song, he does not follow the traditional song structure. Like he never makes the production actually dictate where he's gonna go. I would say with his flows and with his actual delivery. So it's cool to see him not play by the traditional rules. So I think overall we have to give this a great rating, because I was thoroughly entertained throughout, and he's the one that really got me to that point. Yes, there were a lot of production highlights, but it was his energetic, high voltage performances that really made it for me.
Yeah, and he's able to just show off so many different types of styles and cadences on this album. Like, you know, you're going to find them going on soul samples on a song like Scapegoats, and then, like, you know, you're going to find them, you know, fucking riding 3 different beat switches on a song like Trademark USA. Like, not only that, but, you know, talking about family ties, that was a vicious verse from him. Like, I absolutely love the way he was able to compete with his cousin Kendrick, and even at that, like, even Durag Activity, like, Travis did not outperform him to the point where I was like, fuck, like, you know, why is Baby Keem on this track? Like, Baby Keem held his own even with his features. But let's actually go on to the content of this album, because a lot of people have had a bit of a hard time relating to Baby Keem's content because of maybe the way he delivers it, or sometimes his, you know, his flows are so quirky that the delivery kind of comes off, you know, a bit messy. But in this album, I feel as if it was a beautiful message, and it was just him showing his flavor and taste for music. Like, this guy wanted to show his full capability within this track list. You know, he's talking about family matter, he's talking about relationship advice, he's even talking about, you know, how he sees the industry right now, and how him and his cousin and PG Lang as a whole move sort of differently. So as a Baby Keem fan, where do you see the strengths in the content matter?
Yeah, I would say that what's interesting is that he's a super mysterious figure. Like, you don't really know too much about his backstory. And it's interesting because in the song Scapegoat, which was actually the trailer for this album, and I absolutely love that song, by the way. That's probably
I wish it was longer.
I know, I do wish it was longer. It's only like about a minute something, but I love him rapping on soul samples, and I feel like that might end up being my favorite song in this project. But on that song, he actually raps like, I'll be back in 2 years to tell you the full story about myself, but for now, I'll be rapping about Porsches. So he's kind of like, he's getting you into that zone that it's like, don't expect me to reveal my full hand right away. Let me kind of lure you into it. Let me kind of get you, you know, used to my sound, and then I'll come with the more personal stories. But for me, the highlight content-wise came on the song Issues, which to me sounds very 808s and Heartbreak inspired, and I was very cool to see.
One of the deepest songs in the whole track list, man. It was fucking deep. Like, I was going through Issues, and I'm like, is he really doing this right now? I'm actually going to pull up the song for you, but what do you fuck with about it? Like, what was the first thing you noticed when listening to Issues? Because I have this in my exact notes too.
It was really how somber, I would say, his performance was. Not only that, but it's the fact that he's rapping about how he was evicted as a child, and how he had this really rough upbringing that was kind of, I would say, you know, escalated a certain way because his parents weren't together, and his mother unfortunately went to rehab when he was like 6 years old. And he has a line where he says, "Please don't make the wolves come get you," and that kind of refers to how he doesn't want his mother's temptations and addictions to get the best out of her. So to see him open up on that kind of level, I mean, we can't take it for granted, because these artists don't have to let us in on these chapters of their lives. But when you do it, you know, it causes the audience member to relate to you and to really gain a better understanding of who you are as a person. So that's what that did for me.
I also love the resilience he shows in this song. And the first verse is really, there's a line I like. It's like, I can't go ghost. I face demons. Don't let it defeat you. All in my hands. So it's cool to see how, you know, he's presenting you this sort of rough upbringing. He's presenting you all of this pain that he went through as a child, and he's saying like, yeah, okay, it's all good. It happened to me, but you know, I can't go ghost. I can't run from these problems. I have to face them, and I have to challenge them with, you know, adversity. And I have to challenge them and really, you know, understand my pain for what it is. So, you know, that was a major standout for me as far as content goes. But, you know, I had a little bit of a gripe with the content matter, because I mean, it wasn't a gripe for me because I'm a fan of Baby Keem's music, and when he had put out that tweet that he was 99%, you know, it was just artistic value, and that it was just feeling, and then it was like 0.1% technicality. I kind of fully understood the vision of the album. Like, I guess that's what people, you know, that's what he wanted people to understand out of it. So you're not going to get the most complicated subject matter. For the most part, you know, he's talking about relationship advice, or it's very simplistic. You know, it's not very hard to wrap your head around. But, you know, something like Pink Panties, like, I don't know, it didn't really rub me the right way, and I feel as if like that's kind of knock on the content for me as a whole.
Yeah, I totally feel you, because I would say the majority of this project's content matter is dominated by Keem, let's say, over sexualizing women, or kind of using them as scapegoats, as he likes to say on the song Scapegoat. And it's kind of the sense, I feel like, that you know, he calls himself Two-Phone Baby Keem. He kind of portrays himself as this player, and it's interesting too, because I just feel like that's his way of being someone else, of not showing his true identity to people, because maybe he never got to in the past, and maybe being with various women allows him, you know, to kind of cope with his issues by, you know, engulfing himself into sex and whatever else. And there's actually quite a few bars that, like, look, with Keem, you have to expect these bars to be kind of off kilter, but these ones really were pretty laughable for me. So he has one where he says, hold up.
Yeah, there was a lot of good bars on here. It was good.
How did you buy that ass? Did you buy pound for pound on Gorgeous? That was pretty funny.
That's good. I like that.
Another one that, honestly, I don't even want to think about what the deeper meaning is, but put my soul into these condoms. Oh. Like, I was like, whoa, like, where are you trying to go with this, bro?
But the only thing I do got to say about the content, though, is that K-Dot delivered a great fucking verse on Range Brothers. So
yes, sir.
I'm gonna read a couple of lines off the third verse and the fifth verse, because Baby Keem and Kendrick actually have some back and forth on the end of that track, and it's probably some of the best back and forth that I've gotten.
You were looking at that generational wealth talk, eh?
Yeah, I was fucking. Look at this. Now I look at my money like a resource. Every contract got to put my kids' family in school, health and wealth, going deep for it, do right for my next life. That was on the third verse. Now you go to the fifth one. Bet when the hoes get bored and the points ain't score, you gonna live in this world confused. Every day the hate restored and the faith gets short. Like, I don't even know what to say about Kendrick's writing anymore. Like, he surprises me on every single fucking, you know, verse he puts out. It doesn't even have to be a song anymore, and it gets me so excited to see what's gonna happen with his future projects and what he's gonna dive into, because it seems like he has a lot to say. But those K-Dot verses really added a lot to me for the album's, you know, content value. I feel as if they were needed to a certain extent, because it added that meat to it. But we'll talk a bit more about that
on the features. But speaking of that verse, content. Yeah, speaking on that verse though from Kendrick on Range Brothers, it's crazy how he's at a point in his life now where he's not worried about the financial freedom of his kids. He's thinking about his grandkids and his great-grandkids. He's really, you know, invested in that idea of generational wealth, and that was awesome to see. But like you said, we'll get to that later on. In terms of other content, I like how confident Keem is. If you look at a song like Trademark USA, you know, he raps about how he's been passed the torch now. The torch is in his hands. And not only that, but on a song like Gorgeous, he says how he's ready to go toe-to-toe with the whole league. So he's really next up, and he knows that. And I feel like what really makes him stand apart is that he's not buying into the trends. He's not, you know, buying into what sounds are hot right now. He's in his own fucking lane, and he really showed that through the content matter. So I think we have to give it a good rating, right?
Yeah, it is a good rating, because he's not going to do too much with, you know, concepts or like a crazy thematic basis. And
not yet, at least.
Not yet, at least. You know, he's kind of like hinting towards it, and how he's going to use this maybe his second studio album to do more of that. But for the most part, you're going to get, you know, braggadocious Keem. You're going to be getting like, you know, that orange soda vibe. Like, that's what it's going to be like for a good part of the project. But even a song like South South Africa, just before we go into the features, I love how he's using his mom's advice here. So my mama tried to warn me, tried to warn these hoes not to break my heart again. I never shave my hose. I pay my hose, then pay my rent. So it's cool to see how like he's associating, you know, his mom's advice with something like, you know, just talking about women. Like I like how he's able to do that, but for the most part, wasn't anything crazy, but it was really good for the album. But let's actually move on to the features, because we've had a lot of great fucking features on this album. But let's actually start with Kendrick, bro. So where do you want to start with? You want to start with Vent? You want to start with Family Ties? Like, where do you want to go?
I'll start with Vent, because that's kind of his shortest sequence on one of his features. And I was disappointed because we did hear the leak, because that leak of Vent was out for a long time, and his flow, his performance on that verse of that song was phenomenal. He kind of has that itsy bitsy spider flow. Super out of there.
Crazy.
I loved it though. Super unique, but it's sad to see it not make the song. But I guess it makes sense because his hook is still there, and it's so fucking electric. It's so in your face and aggressive, and I mean it's scary, bro. It's fucking, it gives you that vibe of like Kendrick's serious. Like, he's not taking any shit.
And I remember hearing Vent for the first time. I'm like, holy fuck, like, is this guy really doing this again? And guys, listen, after this review, like, fuck it, I'll even give you permission live, bro. Like, stop this video and go listen to the full version of Vent on YouTube. Like, that leak is way too fucking hard. So when I went through Vent the first time, I'm like, please have that verse there. Please have that verse there. And then when I heard Baby Keem's verse go first, I'm like, they probably fucking cut his verse off, eh? And they ended up doing it. But it was incredible because Kendrick still added that extra touch and that extra punch to that song that you needed, because you got these crazy fucking electric guitars in the background that sounded fucking hardcore, and Kendrick just brings in this vicious energy that you can't even understand how he does this anymore. So that's how I felt about Vent. But I want to talk about Family Ties, because we actually did a review on the single.
Is this the best feature on the album for you?
Yeah, me definitely. Too. Most definitely. There's no fucking doubt about it. Like, when I saw that trailer and I understood the type of energy he was going to come with before Family Ties was released, jeez, dude, like, this guy doesn't stop, and he doesn't know how to stop. Like, that's what's crazy about him, is he takes like things that he's explored on different albums and makes it better. And the one thing that I feel as if he did here on Family Ties was, one, his voice changes. Like, the way Kendrick is able to change tempos and notes and, like, you know, settles in his voice is fucking incredible, especially with, you know, the way the beat goes. Not only that, but content matter wise, like Smoking on your top 5, like coming in with that type of confidence on a Baby Keem album, like, what are you gonna fucking give me on your new album? So how did you feel about Family Ties, and did you feel as if it was maybe the right single, especially like going with Kendrick on it?
It was amazing, man. Once that beat switched and, you know, Kendrick comes in with that fucking vicious energy, you know it's game over. You know that nobody's safe, you know? So what I think what's really cool too is that on Family Ties, it shows how sick of a flow he has, because his flow is better than most rappers out there, and yet he's doing this country boy voice and is ending every line with brother. And he ends up having a crazy flow with his fucking stupidity of an accent. And I'm like, how does this work? Only Kendrick Lamar can make a voice like that work, and he fucking pulled it off. And I just love how he's talking about how he is not an overnight activist. He's not someone who's going to be there to have the first tweet out when something political happens. Like, he's here for the long run, and his you know, his contributions to music and society has already been so heavy and so deep. And I feel like at this point, like, he's a voice of this generation, and people need that resurgence. And this verse kind of, I would say, prepped us up for that.
Yeah, and then after that, you get something like
Range Brothers.
Yeah, Range Brothers, bro. Like, he brought back that same like, okay, this is how I feel about it.
The country boy voice.
It's
the cowboy.
It's stupidity, but it's also super fucking comedic. Like, it's kind of weird because it sounds good, but it sounds like hilarious. Like, I don't know where to put myself in it, and I think that's why I fuck with it so much. Like, it's just there, and the way that he's able to incorporate it into his flow is fucking incredible. And I loved every single verse that he delivered on this song. Like, I didn't think that we were gonna see 2 other Kendrick features on this album, you know, let alone because you got fucking Family Ties. But it was cool to see him on the track list. But let's actually talk about Travis Scott. How did you feel about this when you first heard Durag Activity? Like,
I loved it. I'm like, this is one of Travis's best, you know, best features ever, in my opinion. He just totally caught the vibe of the production, and I just love how he really immersed himself into it. Had some background vocals on his own vocals, so that was cool to see too. And he really immerses you into the feeling of the song, and I love the auto-tune that he used too on it.
It is,
was just
yeah,
great.
that's
Great
facts.
performance.
I really think that Travis Scott is on a tear, especially after, you know, the fair trade feature. I think that, you know, he's lined himself up pretty well in 2021 when it comes to showing up on other people's albums. But let's actually talk about Rosalia, and I believe it's on Scapegoats, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's
right?
on Trademark USA on the
That
intro.
is, yeah, you sure?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wait, hold on. I believe she has a bridge, correct?
Yeah, she's somewhere in the middle of the song, and she doesn't really do too much. But I think she's a few lines.
Okay, she has a chorus on the second part.
What did she say? Like, I'm a hot girl
yeah, I'm a
or
hot
something?
girl, a hot girl, I'm a hot girl. And then, okay, so, but it's cool though, because that actually plays into the second part between Keem's first verse on the second part and Keem's second verse on the second part. Because if you see how those two verses actually transition into each other, Mama going home with the coupe, and then it's kind of like Baby Keem hooks up with Rosalia in that coupe, and it's like, it's the dialogue within the car, and then the second verse is after Baby Keem dips. So I really like the way she was, featured on there, but she wasn't credited. So it kind of like flew
it was a
over my
low-key
head.
feature.
It was a really low-key feature. But let's talk about Don Toliver. How did you like his feature? And was it something maybe that you expected more of? Because I don't know. Like I felt good about it, but
I don't know. I feel like his vocals had a nice rhythm to it. The melodic rapping was hitting. And honestly, like, look, I think it's called Coco, right? The song with him.
Yeah, it's called
It's
Coco.
not one of my favorites on the album, but I feel like
he
stole the show.
I know.
To
He
me,
definitely
he took the spotlight, and he really was, at least for that style of production, he really dominated and kind of took over Keem on that song. For me.
You think so?
For me personally,
okay,
I think so.
Because this is my thing though, is that like I listened to the beat and it was a bit fast paced, and I'm like, fuck, man, you guys had to get like something slower on here. Like, Don Toliver and Baby Keem's vocals are just super great when there's, it almost feels like a psychedelic effect, like something that he did on Moon, right? Then I just felt as if it was maybe too fast paced of a track. So
I agree.
I wasn't that crazy about the feature, but for the most part, he did perform. He did lay down great vocals.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to say about the features is that like Kendrick and Keem are really making an argument for themselves to become this crazy duo together, because if you look at their back and forth, not only on Family Ties but on Arranged Brothers too, it's fucking impeccable, bro. Like they ride off each other so well, and I just love the energy they both bring to every song they're on. So I'm really curious to see if they'll ever make a collab album, or if they'll ever have more collaborations in the vault, because I really like what they do together. But speaking on the features, we'll have to give it a great rating because everybody performed. And I love the fact that Baby Keem only put 4 artists on the 16-song album, because it's his debut album. We want to hear from him. We want to know about his abilities. So I love the fact that he didn't go overboard with it and kind of ride that 2021 trend of stacking your track list with features.
Yeah, it was really cool and refreshing to see him actually go with something that was more concise, something that was more focused, and something that actually added to the track list. Like, just didn't feel as if, okay, it's your debut album, so you got to stack this up with, like, a bunch of fucking features. No, this was really well calculated, and I think everyone was chosen with a really good intent, because everyone did add something new and refreshing to the track list. But speaking about production, this was fucking interesting, because, you hear Orange Soda, you hear Hooligan, you hear Durag Activity, you hear Family Ties. They're all great songs. But I feel as if the one thing that makes them great fucking songs is the production in back. And one of the first things that I notice about this production is how diverse yet coherent it sounds. And I say this about a couple of projects, but I feel as if this is like the main standout for me with the Melodic Blue is like, on a song like Trademark USA, you're getting like 4 different beat switches, but yet it feels good. Then the same thing happens with Family Ties. You're getting that beat switch, yet it feels good. Like, there's never a point where I'm confused by the production, or I feel as if, oh, fuck, it's just too much, or I can't listen to this.
Yeah.
So, going into this Baby Keem album, what did you expect out of the production, especially, understanding the fact that he's a quirky rapper, he likes to use quirky flows, and that he's very experimental with his deliveries and the way he does things?
Listen, man, the first thing that I want to say is that, to me, out of this new generation, I truly believe that Baby Keem is the most versatile artist since Denzel Curry and since XXXTentacion. I really think that he's on that level in terms of his versatility, and his production plays a big role into that, because you get so many unique elements sprinkled into it. If it's whistles, if it's flutes, if it's this noise of tap dancing, if it's this percussion that sounds like it's coming from this marching band, just so many different sounds blended in. And like you said, he manages to make it sound cohesive. And one of the aspects of the production that I really enjoyed on songs, let's say like Trademark USA, or on Durag Activity is this very ominous sound that sounds very haunting. If it comes from this cold piano melody or if it's the creepy bass lines that you get, it just always keeps you on the edge of your seat. And that's something that I found really brought up the entertainment value for me. Not only that, but he's showing that he can rap with any kind of beat he wants to. Look at fucking Scapegoat. If you would have told me that Keem would be rapping on a soul sample, I would have been like, yeah, it's not going to work.
No, and then you go to something like Boo Man, where he's actually, you know, the only producer credited on this track. So I guess he's the one that actually made this.
And you had like trumpets, trombones on there.
Not only that, but you got this fucking vintage sample, and like it has your head bumping right away. But let's actually talk about Durag Activity for a bit, because that was ridiculous. Like when you hear that piano riff go off in the background, you already know what's happening, and it already gets you into a tie. Then you get something like Family Ties, and I love the way, you know, the horns are going off for the first switch, and then, you know, it gets real dark once Kendrick comes in. So there was also like these really nice shifts in tempo that I like to see, because that's what keeps me entertained as a listener, is like, okay, you know, the album doesn't feel static because it's all mellowed out production, and like, you know, you're kind of like mellow with it, like you're not really experimenting anywhere. And then, you know, the track list doesn't feel like fucking, you know, ridiculously crazy and really incoherent like something like Trip at Night, where it's just a bunch of different productions going off in your face.
Wow, it's kind of the same beats, yeah, all for every song.
But not only that, but like it's like too much noise for nothing. Okay, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel as if too many albums in 2021 have that. It's just like they'll add a bunch of grand production, but it never really ends up being anything because it doesn't make sense for the artist nor his or her delivery. And like, that's a big problem for me. So once I found out that like, okay, Baby Keem actually made the right decisions on this album, felt really fucking good. Not only that, but I want to take it back to Pink Panties actually, because I don't fuck with the song, but I fuck with the production. I love the synths in back, and that was something that I noticed. The soul sample in back of Scapegoats. Like I went through this whole track list and I was entertained by every single production I heard.
Yeah, and it's interesting that he was able to make it sound cohesive as a project with all those styles implemented. I feel like if it leans on one genre production-wise, maybe it's kind of trap because of all the hard-hitting drum patterns that you do get. But what's cool is that if you look at a song like Vent, you can barely describe what the fuck you're hearing because it sounds so avant-garde. It sounds in like these industrial, chaotic sounds where it's like, it's hard for me to even put into words what the fuck I'm hearing. So let me ask you that. Like, how would you describe the feeling you get from a song like Vent production-wise?
It's crazy because you get this bolt of energy, and like Baby Keem just comes in and absolutely rips it up. Because I'm not sure if you noticed this, but like once that that electric guitar,
is there an electric guitar? I was wondering.
I think it's an electric guitar in back. Like someone, if you guys know better than us, please leave it in the comments. You know, but I believe it is electric guitars, and like you hear them going, and they're super fucking dark. But they play before Baby Keem actually comes in, and then that helps with the suspense of the actual song. And then once Baby Keem's verse drops, it's like you get these crazy fucking 808s. And that was something else I wanted to say. The drum patterns and, you know, all of the drum programming and 808s on this project were really well done, because, you know, you're going to get songs like Vent that are super in your face, but you're also going to get a song, example, like Scars, that's a bit more laid back in a production wise. So, you know, I fucked with that. I love the duality within it, and I liked how the project changed from song to song. So overall, what's the rating, bro? Reveal it.
We're going to give it an amazing rating for the production. And what's cool too is that these beats aren't just loops. These beats keep evolving and progressing as the song goes on. And that's something that I really appreciate, because you don't hear that a lot in hip-hop albums in 2021. But let's now move on to the instant replay value. So going through the tracks, how many misses do you have, and what are your top 3 songs off this album?
Okay, so let's go. Let's start from the track list. Okay, let's do it me and you together. Okay,
yes,
so first one, Trademark USA. Is that a skip or is that a hit for you?
That's a hit.
Okay, that's one. Okay, how about Pink Panties? I think that's gonna be.
That's gonna be a miss for me.
Scapegoats is for sure a W.
Big W there. Okay. Then we have Range Brothers.
Range Brothers.
I don't like the beginning of it though. I'll be honest.
Really?
The beginning, that kind of harmonizing that Keem's doing, I'm not fucking with.
Oh, okay. See, I fuck with that, but that's a W for me. I'm keeping that in mind.
Yeah, it's a W.
How about Issues? How did you fuck with that?
Loved it.
Great, gorgeous,
really good.
You see,
not it for you?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's gonna make my my rotation, but still, I'll give it a W. How about South Africa? How do you feel about that?
It was all right.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I mean, I wasn't thrilled by it, but I'll keep it.
I'm a big fan of that song. I really fuck with it. I like the melodies.
Lost Souls banger.
Yeah, I fuck with that. How about Coco, Baby Keem and Don Toliver?
Probably a miss, to be honest. Probably a miss.
Not gonna make my rotation.
I enjoyed the performances, but not gonna make the rotation.
Family Ties.
Big W.
Massive.
Maybe the best song on the album.
One of the best songs of the year for sure. How about Scar? Something more mellowed out.
Liked it a lot.
Something more personal. I fucked with that too. Durag Activity, man.
Of course.
That's been in my rotation.
Boo Man was really good.
Absolutely. First Order.
Love that one.
That was a great fucking song.
Top
Hey,
five.
we didn't even fucking talk about that. How great was that song?
That was awesome, man. That was really good. Vent. Definitely a big W. Really?
This is my thing. This is my
bro.
thing, though. This is my thing. Hold on. No. It's not that I don't fuck with the song. It's just that I'm probably gonna go listen to the leak. I'm dead ass. Like, I'm probably gonna end up converting
Yeah,
this to.
I feel that.
I'm gonna end up converting this to MP3, and I'm gonna put it on the album just through iTunes. But yes, it's a massive W for me. But if we're talking about which one I prefer more, I obviously like the leak better. And then 16, the closer on the album.
Yeah,
How'd you
that
feel
was
about it?
super radio friendly, but I loved it because I'm like, okay, he can go for this super summery kind of vibe where it's a relationship song, but the way that he's using his melodic singing actually really worked out for me. So that was a W. So probably only 2 misses out of 16. And I feel like I will be bumping this album a lot just because of how different it is. Like, if I want to change, what I'm listening to and kind of get something refreshing in my rotation, the Melodic Blue is a perfect place to go.
Absolutely. So listen, I think that, well, Lou and I were talking about this, about the instant replay. Where do we go with it? We originally said great, but now that we've talked about it more, I think we're going to give it an amazing rating.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be crazy because you're going to have some time to sit with this Baby Keem album. Like, you're getting so many different things in this album, and it's going to be like, fuck, what sound was this? Or, how did this transition into this? Like, how did I feel about this beat switch? And you're always going to be going back and, sort of dissecting how you feel about the album. But for the most part, like, the only part where it lacks is kind of like on the concept base of it. Like, you don't have to listen to it too much. But the other thing that I really like about the album and its replay value is how easy of a listen this is, because yes, the content matter is not too complicated, but the production, the cadences, the flows, like, keep you entertained the whole way through. So yes, this will be in my rotation for a long time, and it's definitely one of my favorite projects of the year. But how about you? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, so speaking on the overall rating of the album, I do feel like this was a home run for Keem. I feel like he delivered on every level. If you're talking about the diverse production styles, if you're talking about implementing features properly, and also the fact that he's able to entrance you into every single song. And I love that he's able to create new atmospheres with every single song and be so, I would say, genre and boundary pushing in the way that he uses his flows, the way that he changes, I would say, the inflections of his voice. He just went all over the place. And even though he doesn't have that traditional song structure, he's still able to keep you entertained and really make the songs feel whole. So I think overall for me, it's a great album.
It is a great album, and I feel the same way about it. Like, I really find myself loving the diversity within this track list. Like, if you want to get analytical with it, go right ahead. Like, don't even hesitate. Like, go through the lyrics, nitpick, but you're just gonna find yourself not enjoying this album. Like, you have to find yourself getting into the groove with Baby Keem's deliveries, with his flows, getting used to that quirky sort of sound that he delivers to you. But I guarantee it, once you lock yourself into Baby Keem's sound, it becomes fucking addicting, because not only that, but like, you're gonna be in this mode where you're trying to get all of these productions down packed, you're trying to listen to this beat and you're trying to understand what he's saying, and it's gonna like leave you wanting more, and then it's just,
listen, man, once Baby Keem clicks for you, it's over, because you can tell how original he is as a talent. And not only that, but I'm really curious to see what he drops in 2 years, because on Scapegoat, he really previewed that his next album would be much more personal. And I love how he's still able to very vaguely paint this picture of his childhood, which is very damaged and very, I would say, very kind of lonely in a sense, because he speaks about on this album being independent from a young age and how, these relationships with women helped him get through these trials and tribulations. So you mix that in with his playfulness with the bars and just his ability to attach himself to any beat that comes his way and really make it his own and have fun with it. It's a great project. It's
a really great
project.
It deserves a great rating, because Baby Keem delivered on this. Like, there was a lot of expectations coming in, especially with everyone saying, oh, he's Kendrick's cousin, he's a bit overrated, or, oh, I'm not a fan of his flow. Like, dude, come on. Just if you're not into it, don't talk about it. Then if you end up getting into Baby Keem, more power to you, because you're going to find yourself, getting into all of his projects in the future. And, this was a major step up from Die For My Bitch for me. Like, this is really a good project. It has that focus focus to it, and it's just an enjoyable listen from start to finish. So overall, I'm super impressed with it. And, you know, just one more question for you. Like, do you think that this is an album of the year contender off the bat?
Probably not. I mean, there's definitely albums that I think are better, but it is maybe in that top 15 list, maybe top 15, maybe at the bottom of the top 10 list, but we'll have to see as the rest of the year goes on because there's so many anticipated releases. And speaking of those releases, we're going to keep you updated with the biggest rollouts of the entire year in hip-hop, and we'll also be doing album reviews for these huge albums. So stay tuned, guys. We hope you enjoyed the album and our review. Thanks for watching till the end, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you for watching the video. It's always a pleasure doing content for you guys. Listen, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel because we're doing album reviews, and we actually have our series called Everything We Know, where we take you guys through the whole album rollout of the hottest releases of the year. Not only that, guys, but our Patreon plan is now live. You guys can access that in the bio. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.